Eberechi spat in the direction of Morgan Rogers during a closed-door confrontation at England's Kansas training base after allegedly exposing a secret betting ring operating inside the squad. It wasn't just a heated argument. It wasn't a misunderstanding between teammates. It wasn't the tabloids blowing things out of proportion. This is serious. Nothing like this has ever been seen 48 hours before a World Cup opener. And there's a detail the FA still hasn't confirmed publicly. The betting allegedly included wagers on which players would be dropped from the starting 11, meaning some squad members had financial incentives to see their teammates fail. And the worst hasn't even come to light yet. Over the next few minutes, you'll understand exactly what happened in that room on Tuesday afternoon, who's involved, and why this changes everything for England at the World Cup. Because when something like this explodes days before your tournament debut against Iran at Arrowhead Stadium, it's not just about one player's behavior or one moment of anger. It's about a fractured dressing room, a manager facing an impossible decision, and a World Cup campaign that could be over before it even starts. And the behind the scenes of this is worse than it looks. According to sources close to the England camp, Eberechi discovered evidence of an organized betting syndicate during the team's preparation phase in Kansas City. The ring allegedly involved wagers on internal training matches, fitness test results, and even tactical lineup decisions. Eze, who has publicly advocated for integrity in football throughout his career at Crystal Palace, reportedly compiled screenshots and witness accounts over several days before presenting them to assistant coaches late Sunday evening. By Monday morning, Morgan Rogers had been identified as a key organizer. Sources suggest at least 4 other squad members had participated to varying degrees, though their identities haven't leaked yet. And that's when the tension that had been simmering for weeks finally boiled over. The flashpoint occurred in the main conference room of England's Kansas training facility on Tuesday at approximately 3:15 in the afternoon local time. It was immediately following a mandatory squad ethics briefing. Stapos. Players filed out. Morgan Rogers allegedly confronted Eberechi near the doorway. Witnesses report Rogers asked loudly why Eze had gone running to the suits instead of handling things internally. Eze remained calm initially, stating he had a responsibility to the team and the country. That's when Rogers stepped closer, gesturing aggressively. Sources say he called Eze a self-righteous snake who had destroyed careers over harmless fun. Eze's expression changed. He took one step forward, said something inaudible, and then he spat toward Rogers' feet, missing his boot by inches. The room went completely silent. Declan Rice moved between them. Jude Bellingham stood frozen against the far wall. Thomas Tuchel entered seconds later and ordered everyone out except the 2 players and Rice. Nobody saw it coming. But here's the thing. This didn't come out of nowhere. The betting activity had allegedly been ongoing since the squad's first gathering in early May, initially dismissed as low-stakes banter between players. However, sources suggest the stakes escalated significantly during the pre-tournament friendlies, with some players reportedly betting substantial sums on which teammates would start against Bosnia. Eberechi had privately expressed discomfort to Declan Rice weeks earlier, but received assurances it would sort itself out. The tension intensified when Eze learned younger players like Kobbie Mainoo were being pressured to participate. 2 senior players allegedly warned Eze to stay in his lane after he raised concerns informally. By the time England arrived in Kansas for final World Cup preparations, the atmosphere between Eze and the betting group had turned ice cold. And there's a detail almost nobody noticed. In the moments before the confrontation on Tuesday, Kobe Mainu allegedly slipped out of the room through a side door. Some witnesses believe he was warned in advance that things were about to explode. Now the dressing room is split down the middle. On one side, Eze and his supporters argue that integrity and FA regulations were being violated, that younger players were being exploited, and that public exposure before a World Cup was necessary because internal channels had failed. They view Morgan Rogers as reckless and Ease as courageous for risking his own popularity to do what's right. On the other side, Rogers and his allies maintained the betting was recreational, consensual among adults, and that Easy's actions were sanctimonious and divisive at the worst possible moment. They argue Easy destroyed squad unity days before England's biggest tournament in decades, potentially costing the team their best chance at glory since 1966. And in the middle, there's a group of players who refuse to take sides publicly, but are quietly furious that any of this is happening right now. Noni Madueke and Tino Livramento are reportedly keeping their heads down. Harry Kane and Jordan Pickford have remained neutral in team meetings but expressed frustration privately that this is the conversation 48 hours before Iran. And hold on, because the most controversial detail I've saved for the end. A group chat allegedly exists containing months of betting records, participant lists, and amounts wagered. Sources suggest at least one player saved the entire conversation history before it could be deleted. That evidence has not surfaced publicly yet. The reactions have been explosive. Social media divided within hours of the rumor breaking. Easy's supporters are calling him a hero defending the Three Lions' honor. Rogers' defenders are accusing Eze of sabotaging England's World Cup for personal glory. Hashtags supporting both players trended globally. Thomas Tuchel held an emergency meeting with his coaching staff until past midnight Tuesday. Sources close to the situation say there's genuine anger at both the betting itself and the timing of Eze's decision to expose it, with some staff feeling he should have waited until after the tournament. The FA is maintaining official silence, but reportedly scrambling behind the scenes. FA regulations strictly prohibit betting on any football-related activity involving your own team. Legal and ethics teams are allegedly reviewing whether formal charges are warranted. British tabloids are circling. Two major outlets have reportedly been offered leaked details by sources inside the camp, though nothing has been published yet pending verification. And there's talk that video footage of the spitting incident exists on a player's phone. Pressure is mounting for someone to release it. Now here's what changes. England face Iran in their World Cup opener in 47 hours at Arrowhead Stadium. Thomas Tuchel's midfield depth was already tight. If he suspends Morgan Rogers and others allegedly involved, his tactical plans disintegrate and he loses key rotation options for a tournament that demands squad management. But if he downplays the incident and keeps everyone available, he risks FA sanctions, a media firestorm if details leak, and losing the moral authority to discipline anyone moving forward. And the clock is ticking. FIFA rules allow replacement players to be called up until 24 hours before the first match, but integrating someone new into tactics at this stage is nearly impossible. Declan Rice is under intense pressure to make a public statement as captain. Jude Bellingham, the vice-captain and dressing room heavyweight, has been attempting to mediate, but is reportedly frustrated with both sides. His silence is speaking volumes. Now Thomas Tuchel is caught between two bad decisions. If he suspends players, England's World Cup could be over before kickoff because the squad chemistry and depth evaporate overnight. But if he does nothing, the FA could step in. The media could destroy the team's focus, and the dressing room rift could fester for the entire tournament. Either way, England's best chance at glory in decades is hanging by a thread because of what happened in a conference room in Kansas on Tuesday afternoon. This is what 48 hours before a World Cup looks like when your squad implodes from the inside. And look, this is far from over. This is the information going around so far. Over the next few hours, new details should drip out, and they could turn this whole story upside down. We're talking about potential FA investigations, possible suspensions, and a dressing room that may never recover. Over to you. Was Eberechi right to expose the betting ring even though it destroyed squad unity days before the World Cup? Or did he sabotage England's best chance at glory for personal principles? Write it down below. And if you don't want to find out about the next bombshell after everyone else, subscribe and turn on notifications now. Because when this fully blows up, you'll want to be the first to know, not the last. Because here's what you need to understand as an England fan. This isn't just about one incident in Kansas. This is about whether Thomas Tuchel can hold together a dressing room that's been fractured at the worst possible moment in English football history. Eberechi made a choice that he believed was about integrity. Morgan Rogers and his allies see it as betrayal. And neither side is backing down. The tension in that training facility is reportedly unbearable. Sources close to the squad say some players aren't even making eye contact with each other during tactical sessions. Bukayo Saka and Marcus Rashford are allegedly trying to stay completely neutral, focusing only on football. But even they can feel the atmosphere poisoning everything. Anthony Gordon has been described as visibly uncomfortable whenever Eze and Rogers are in the same room. And here's where it gets even more serious. England's first training session after the incident on Wednesday morning was reportedly a disaster. The intensity wasn't there. The communication broke down. Thomas Tuchel had to stop the session twice to address what sources describe as passive-aggressive behavior between certain players. Ivan Toney and Ollie Watkins, who need to be sharp for the Iran match, were allegedly distracted by the tension around them. The FA's silence is deafening. No official statement, no press conference, nothing. And that silence is feeding speculation that something bigger is coming. Are suspensions being prepared? Is the legal exposure the FA is trying to assess? Sources suggest the betting ring may have violated not just FA regulations, but potentially gambling laws, given the amounts allegedly involved and the insider nature of the wagers. And there's still that group chat, the one with months of records that allegedly hasn't been deleted. If that surfaces, this stops being about dressing room drama and becomes a full-scale investigation that could follow these players for years. Kobbie Mainoo, who's reportedly been trying to distance himself from the allegations, could see his career stalled before it even peaks if his name appears in that evidence. Thomas Tuchel made his decision Thursday morning according to what's being said behind the scenes. He's keeping both Eberechi and Morgan Rogers available for selection against Iran. No suspensions, no public discipline. The message to the squad was reportedly simple. We deal with this after the World Cup, not before. But sources say the meeting was tense, and not everyone agreed with the decision. Declan Rice is now in an impossible position as captain. He has to stand in front of cameras before the Iran match and pretend everything is fine when the entire world knows the dressing room is split. Harry Kane, who's been through multiple England tournaments and understands the pressure, is allegedly supporting Tuchel's decision to prioritize the World Cup over internal discipline. But even Kane can't fix what's broken in that squad right now. And the reality is this. England walk onto the pitch at Arrowhead Stadium on Saturday with a World Cup to win and a dressing room that might never recover. The talent is there. The tactics are there. But trust, unity, the things that actually win tournaments when the pressure is unbearable, those might be gone. This is the price of what happened in Kansas. Not just one moment of anger, not just one player's decision to expose wrongdoing, but the complete unraveling of everything England built over the last 2 years under Thomas Tuchel. And it happened 48 hours before the biggest match of their lives. You can't unspit, you can't unexpose, you can't unfracture a dressing room. And now England have to somehow find a way to beat Iran, navigate a brutal group, and survive a World Cup with a squad that doesn't trust itself anymore. That's what's at stake. That's what Eberechi Eze and Morgan Rogers and everyone involved in this have created. And there's no going back now.